Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a quick spoiler-free review for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Oh boy, this book wrecked me. This book is about a girl who was born in the late 1700s, and she was promised away in an arranged marriage to a man that she obviously did not love and did not want to marry. So she prayed and prayed and prayed for someone to answer so that she would not have to marry this man, and unfortunately the wrong person answered. She wished for her freedom and he granted it, but at a price. Every wish, I feel like everyone should know that every wish has a price. The price she had to pay was her name. No one would remember her, she couldn't say her name, she couldn't write down, she couldn't change anything in history. So she lived this way for 300 years, and basically this book goes through her life over those 300 years and her current day trying to navigate life as somebody who doesn't really have a life. So she's trying to navigate through life in the most difficult way possible until she finally meets someone who remembers her. That is pretty much the gist of this book. It is a beautiful book. First thing I'm going to say is, number one, I gave it a 5-star. I love this book. I got it when it first came out, but I did not read it because I was afraid I would hate it. I heard a lot of like mixed reviews about it, how it was boring, how it wasn't what they were expecting, how blah blah blah. So I just kept putting it off because I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like it. And I heard there was like a sad ending, so just like, I don't feel like crying. I cry enough reading some books. When I finally picked this up, I was like, okay, I have pretty low expectations. I feel like it's gonna be boring, it's gonna be historical, blah blah blah. Read through it. There definitely were a few moments where I was like, okay, this could pick up a little bit, but overall, this was a beautiful book. I think the most important thing, if you are reading this book, is to not think of it as a romance. I think a lot of people who read this book and didn't like it, read it like it was a romance. It is not a romance. It is a romance in the same way someone who doesn't understand Romeo and Juliet would say Romeo and Juliet's a romance. It's not a romance. I also wouldn't classify it really as a tragedy though either. And saying Romeo, it has nothing to do with Romeo and Juliet. That's not what the ending is. Anyway, go into this as a study on the human soul, really. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe how this book should be read, but it really is more like a character development story. Yeah, there's like romances in the book, but the romances aren't really important. Even though one of the main characters is in the romance, it's really not the point of the book. Like, their romance is not the point of the book. So I feel like a lot of people saw the romance as the point of the book, and you're missing the point of it. You're missing it, and I get why you didn't like it. This is a character study on Addie LaRue. It is all about her tenacity, her growth, her thought process, and it's all about the human condition, what humans can really survive. Because there was a really great discussion about because you have like the devil character, about the devil character being convinced that Addie LaRue is the only thing that understands him because she's no longer human. I would argue, and Addie has some moments where she's like, I don't think I'm human anymore, blah blah blah, I've been alive for 300 years. I would wholeheartedly disagree with these characters when they say that she is no longer human, and I believe that's the point of this book. The point of the book is that Addie is more human than anyone else in the universe because she wants to live, and her desire to live pretty much trumps everything. And I think that's a huge part of being human, and it's just beautifully done. It's so beautiful and heartbreaking, and if you want something that will leave an impression on you, this is a book I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life. It definitely gave me Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. If you liked Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it's very similar. The character development, the vibes are just so there, and I was so like for it. And I feel like it's a very chaotic book review, but this was a very chaotic reading experience because I kind of went into it thinking it was a romance, and I was able to adjust my like perspective, and I think that saved the book for me because I definitely was like, thought this was gonna be a romance. I'm waiting for the romance to start, blah, blah, blah. And that was definitely the wrong way to go about reading this book. So if you want something that is going to wreck you in the best way possible and make you really think about humanity and your own choices in life and just everything about the universe, I definitely suggest reading this book. I think it's really interesting. Just don't, it's not a romance. Don't read it as a romance and everything will be okay. I still don't think it's for some people. Like it's definitely drags in some parts of it. It can be a little repetitive at some parts. It's a pretty big book. It could have been a lot longer. I did kind of want her to delve more into actual history. So there are basically the book swaps from Addie starting in late 1700s and moving into now. So the book takes you back to like the beginnings and how she deals with no one knowing her and how she learns to live. And then the current chapters are from now when she's meeting people in the current day and dealing with her situation currently and how different she is from how she used to be. In those historical chapters, I really wanted more history. I feel like it definitely focused on her struggle, which is good, but I wanted more like historical events. I think it would have been really, really cool if she would have showed Addie living through these historical events. So they did show a little bit of like the French Revolution, but that was pretty much it. I kind of want her to release like a series of novellas of like Addie going through World War I, Addie going through World War II, Addie going through the French Revolution, like go more in depth with it, because all you see is like her and like a group of soldiers and that's it. I think it would be really cool to have a book of novellas to accentuate the story, because ooh, that would be so cool. Seeing Addie in all this historical like things, like dealing with no one remembering her but being on like sides in history, it'd just be really, really neat. So obviously I don't think she's gonna do that. V. Schwab's got a ton of other projects she's working on, like she has Extraordinary out that she's been working on, so she's got a lot on her plate. So I don't really have my hopes up for that, but I kind of hope she would do that. Anyway, see, this is such a chaotic book review. I feel like I'm not making any sense, but you know what? I don't care. I just needed to talk about this book because I sobbed so much at the end, like for all the reasons, like sad, happy, angsty, everything. This book has everything. So if you want a book that's going to challenge you a little bit and maybe push you out of your comfort zone a little bit, I would definitely pick this up. I think this is a good read. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it, because there's not really any spoilers. There's no twists in this book. Everything is pretty much laid out for you. There's no twists, and I thought I wouldn't like it because of that. I'm a big thriller reader, but I didn't miss any twists at all. The book was perfect as it was. End of story. And it ended perfectly. Read it just for that ending. The ending is so good, and it just makes me love Addie so much. I love Addie LaRue. She is one of my favorite heroines in a book. So just read it for Addie. So that is my book review. Again, don't know how much you got out of that, but read it. That's what you should get out of this. Comment, like, subscribe if you've read it. I would love to hear about your opinions on it. If you haven't read it, be wary of the comments if there are any. I don't want you to get spoiled for anything, even though, again, there's really not that many spoilers. So comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this book. I would love some opinions on this book, including negative opinions. I want to know why people didn't like it, and maybe why we disagree on why we do like it, why we don't like it. That's always cool. I like having those discussions. So that is my book review, and I will see you guys in the next video.